As mentioned, today's sermon is about feeling alive, things that make us feel that way. And I was asked to reflect on that topic. Reverend Dave posed the question, what's a time when you've felt alive? And the thing about asking someone who performs for a living a time they felt alive, I can guarantee you that all of us would say, when I'm performing. And the thing about this particular moment is, it would feel very weird to talk about how I feel alive talking in front of people when what I'm doing is talking in front of people. So I've decided to not do that, and we'll go a little deeper into the well here today. When I was a kid, my grandparents took me along with them to work at auto part swap meets. If you have not ever been to an auto part swap meet, it is like a flea market for car parts. Sometimes they're set up as an attachment to a regular flea market or a part of an antique car show. The primary attendees of auto part swap meets, at least when I was young, were old men who worked on cars and their bored family members who had been dragged along for the outing. My grandpa would give me $20 for helping load all the stuff up in the trailer and unload it once again when we arrived at whatever unused fairground or parking lot we'd be at that week. He would lay out his tables and organize all the car parts appropriately, whatever that meant. He specialized in selling antique car parts. Some of the stuff that he had out was labeled with a price. Other things were not. Everything, though, I assure you, was open for haggling. It was his favorite thing. My grandfather occasionally would acquire a part that he couldn't identify from some foreign car he had not worked on. I have a memory that one time, a man picked up a part that my grandfather did not know what it was. And the man asked my grandfather how much it was. My granddad paused for a moment and responded, $80, thinking that that was a good amount of money. The man interested in the part immediately broke out into a huge grin and pulled out $80 and said, "Sold." As he walked away, my grandfather laughed and said, "I don't know what that part was, but that guy just got a very good deal on it." Our booth at the auto part swap meet was a little different from most of the other booths, which primarily sold auto parts and occasionally vintage car memorabilia. I'm wearing a 55 Chevy belt buckle right now, obtained at such a place. You can look at it after the service. It's cute. Our booth, though, because my grandparents, ever the entrepreneurs, saw bored family members who had been dragged along to the swap meet as a business opportunity. Inevitably, at every swap meet, our booth would be visited by a string of older women who would say, "Finally, something that isn't a bunch of old car junk." My grandmother had set up her portion of the booth where she sold clothes for geese. Not real geese, but the cement kind you'd put on your front porch. She'd have outfits for them, like a leprechaun costume for St. Patrick's Day, or a Santa outfit, or like bib overalls and a flannel shirt in case you wanted your front porch goose to look like a farmer for some reason. She also made other home decor crafts. One of them looked like a child that had been put in the corner on timeout. They were, in retrospect, a little creepy. But my favorite thing that she sold were these giant anthropomorphic rabbits dressed as maids that were intended to cover your vacuum cleaner. They were incredibly intricate works of sewing that took a lot of skill and no doubt led to my adult appreciation of a very kitschy aesthetic. My grandmother's generally lower-cost items sold so well that she would often rival the income of my grandfather at these auto part swap meets. There is something to be said about cornering the market. And lastly, there was the third section of our booth. It was a small card table, which I would set up, and I would sell baseball cards, football cards, soccer cards, superhero trading cards. On a good day, I would make about $5 because I sold these cards for about a quarter a piece. And mostly I'd make them from other kids who had been dragged along and their grandparents wanted to buy them something that wasn't a muffler. But occasionally, I would get money from an adult who found the superhero cards and fondly recalled reading Shazam or Wonder Woman when they were kids. Eventually, my parents moved far enough away from my grandparents that these outings were no longer really feasible, but they do still stand out as one of my fondest memories. Enough so that I'm willing to count these as memories of a time I felt alive. At the time, the $25 a day I made as a kid was a big deal, though in retrospect, I do not think that is what made me feel alive. It was that I was given responsibilities and that I felt like an active participant in my family. The time I spent with people who cared about me and wanted me to be a part of their lives, no matter how strange that part might be. Also, the day inevitably ended up with a stop at the ice cream shop, so that was nice too. Thank you.